Good morning, and welcome to day 3 at the Naval booth for Sea Air Space. I'm Michael Lauren Crew. I'm with the Corporate Communications Department, and I'm getting ready to open the floor to our next speaker for today. We are joining you in person. I have a live feed going, so we will let Mr. Swift talk, and then we will open the floor to your questions. And we will also take those questions virtually if our virtual audience has them as well. So, without further ado, from the Naval Air Warfare Center Aircraft Division is Jerry Swift. He's director of the NAWCAD AIRWorks. Mr. Swift is here to tell you how NAWCAD advances capability and operational readiness for naval aviation and our warfighters. Before getting specific on some of AIRWorks' high-value initiatives delivering rapid, affordable technology and services to meet immediate and emergent warfighter capability needs. Mr. Swift, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jerry Swift. I'm the director of AIRWorks, but today I have the honor of being able to represent Naval Air Warfare Center Aircraft Division, or what we call NAWCAD. It's great to be here in this forum with all of you. My thanks to the Navy League for putting on this great event. And today with this briefing, I want to do two things. First of all, I want to talk to you about Naval Air Warfare Center Aircraft Division, NAWCAD, and tell you about the value of the Warfare Center and what we bring to our warfighting customers. And then second, I want to talk about the ecosystem that we've put in place at NAWCAD and talk about how we really speed technology to the fleet and talk about not only our ability to rapidly transition technology, but also talk about our offices like the Rapid Prototyping and Experimentation Demonstration Office, as well as product centers like AIRWorks. So let's start with the first slide. First of all, I want to echo the mantra of our commander, Rear Admiral John Lemon, and really talk about a sense of urgency for what we do today. Acquisition, sustainment, capability, maintaining that capability is a weapon of war. And we as a warfare center are all combined equally to be able to help speed that capability push to our fleet. Our mantra at NAWCAD is being able to take that sense of urgency and being able to take the talent across our workforce and be able to produce product quickly. Next slide. Underneath our commander's intent, our basic hallmarks are first and foremost to revolutionize readiness, to keep that fleet that's out there today honed and sustained, as well as being able to speed technology in and increase lethality, increase the capability that our warfighters need to be able to counter that fight. And at the same time, be able to develop the workforce. We have over 10,000 military, civilians, and support contractors at the Warfare Center for NAWCAD. We are a fixture on the East Coast. The headquarters of the Naval Air Warfare Center Aircraft Division is out of Patuxent River, and then we also have 3 adjoining sites. The first down at Webster Field at St. Inigo's, another site up at Lakehurst, and then our 4th site down at Orlando with the Naval with the NOC Training Systems Division down at Orlando. At Pax River, where our headquarters is at, we are one of the busiest test centers in the world, with over 300 labs and a full developmental test wing with 4 squadrons, including the United States Navy Test Pilot School. When we combine ourselves with the Warfare Center on the West Coast, the Navy Aircraft Warfare Center Weapons Division, we really bring a full spectrum capability across the entire life cycle of a project, all the way from the fielding of a aircraft to the integration of the weapons in partnership with our West Coast. Next slide. What is a Warfare Center for? We've been asked that quite a bit lately. What is the value of the Warfare Center? And first and foremost, we provide that leadership to bring that science and technology infusion, as well as honing the capabilities of our warfighting systems today through credible sustainment to really make our warfighter the most effective that they can be. And we do that in 3 ways: by building, enabling, and optimizing. What I mean by building is we provide that workforce, that experienced workforce that helps fuel the program offices in Naval Air Systems Command at NAVAIR. We also bring them the acquisition tool sets and as well the acquisition processes that help fuel that program executive officer and that program office cadre to be able to deliver product. The second piece, the enable piece, what we do underneath that initiative is being able to work with you all, industry, and be able to look at what's the best is out there with the state of the market, to be able to close gaps today, and then to know where do we go put our investments for tomorrow by looking at the state of the art of the possible. And then finally, on the optimize, next slide, we are a warfare center, right? First and foremost. Basically, we hone our weapon systems underneath the operational level of war. Our ability of being able to bring in live, virtual, and constructive across our test center and being able to combine across our test centers allows us to be able to do meaningful kill chain analysis, as well as being able to use our models and our simulation environment with live fire events. The whole idea is being able to make sure we understand what our capability is today, where the gaps are, and then being able to infuse science and technology as well as the best of the state of the market to hone our weapon systems. And how do we actually help out and be able to bring more capability into the fleet faster? Well, let's talk about that on this next slide. What I want to do is set the stage here for our ecosystem within the Warfare Center. When I talk about bringing value as a Warfare Center, what we're able to do is be able to speed from the technology side all the way into the program of record side. So let me talk about that for a second. If I'm a program manager in Naval Air Systems Command, one of my main responsibilities in owning a program element that I'm funded through is to really make sure I'm the defender of that platform, right? It is my responsibility to make sure that the weapon system that I'm fielding out of a program office is the most effective that it can be. But I need help as a program manager. So as a program manager, I need to look at what are the other capabilities out there? How do I interoperate with other platforms to be able to complete the mission? And at the same time, I need to be able to look ahead 5 to 10 years to figure out what kind of new capability do I need to bring onto that platform. As a program manager, that's a lot of work. Wouldn't it be great if there was a center that helps me get through all of that and be able to bring more capability on my platform? And that is exactly what the Naval Air Warfare Center Aircraft Division does for our program offices. We start by looking across the spectrum at the best candidates that are out there in the scientific and technology area, and really understanding where the state of the market is at in current technologies today and technologies tomorrow. And then underneath the Rapid Prototyping, Experimentation, and Demonstration Office, the RPED office, led by Tony Smith, standing right back here, he's able to form a crucible in the Warfare Center of being able to rapidly bring the market in, look at the promising technologies, and then being able to put them into relevant environments, like the Advanced Naval Technical Exercise or the ANTEX events. Tony and his team sponsors ANTEX events that are able to bring in industry against technology areas that the command has a keen interest in, put them into relative environments, and be able to now start to showcase to the program offices, these are elements that need to be brought onto your platforms. They are able to close mission systems gaps and be able to make your platforms more viable in the future. But to do that, it's a long jump from going to the demonstration environment over into a program of record. So they need help. They need help to get through what we classically have called the valley of death for a technology area. And that's where the product centers like AIRWorks comes in. We have 4 major product centers within the Warfare Center, and AIRWorks is just one of those. We specialize in aircraft modification work and also in unmanned systems. What we do then is we bridge that gap by helping that program office take the promising technology, apply it to their platform, and be able to help them bring that project over the milestone threshold and get them embedded in as part of their overall program of record. So let's take some examples. The first set of examples I'm going to start out with is on the RPED side, or the rapid prototyping, experimentation, and demonstration side of the house. Next slide. Over the last 2 years, Tony Schmidt and his team have been working on Blue Water Logistics UAS. Military Sea Lift Command, as well as U.S. Fleet Forces Command, came in with a need of being able to do ship-to-ships logistics transfer in about the 50-pound weight class. We knew as a warfare center that industry had been doing a lot of work and had a lot of maturity on unmanned air systems in that basic payload class and kind of endurance class that we were looking in. So Tony, being able to partner with PMA 263, or the Small Tactical UAS Office, went out with Impacts. Impacts is a partner intermediary agreement that we have with Georgia Technology Research Institute to be able to quickly go out, scan the market, and look and see what candidates might be able to fulfill the need. Over the last two years, Tony and his team were able to look at the market for vertical takeoff and landing UAS systems that were able to carry 50-pound payloads. They were able to down select to 19 of those candidates, all the way down to 2. And then the Blue Water UAS last year, they were able to go out and do a shore-to-ship event in February, and then in July went and did a ship-to-ship exercise. What would classically take, if you started out with just a basic requirement and did the standard acquisition process, it may be 2 years or more before you'd even get the ability to start to look at candidates. These guys are out there doing it right now today in less than a year. And then Tony has a roadmap working with PMA 263 to look at follow-ons in FY22 and FY23. Next slide. Not only is did the RPED team do this in the unmanned air area, they're also doing it in other critical technology areas. This is a lot of engagement with industry that we're doing in the S&T and technology side. Not only are we scanning that market and bringing the best that the market has to offer today, we're also getting them into relative environments in our ANTEX events, our Advanced Naval Technology Exercise Test events, or our ATEs, and putting a lot of product out there that's able to demonstrate its viability for the warfighter. In FY22, there are 2 more events, if you go to the website that is listed at the bottom of the page, where Tony and his team is looking at beyond line of sight communication systems, as well as multi-frequency wideband apertures. And he wants to keep this engagement with industry going and get best of what you all have to offer showcased within the command. Next slide. So we talked about that far left side of that ecosystem and talked about how we can now showcase technology, have a meaningful engagement, really bring out what the market has right now today and see what the art of the possible is. Now, with a product center like AIRWorks, we can pick that ball up from the RPED team or from that ecosystem that is out there and doing demonstration work, and with more of a full project office that's looking at all of the elements from design to being able to do the initial fielding and first wave of sustainment. That's where AIRWorks comes in as a product center. Now to team up with that program manager in that program office and start to put the deliberate framework in for the acquisition program, while at the same time they're trying to make that bridge with their original equipment manufacturer to be able to keep advancing that technology. Let's see how that we do that. Next slide. So our partnership with industry from AIRWorks, we do that with both organic capability with our major industrial capability within the Warfare Center, as well as having preset partnerships with industry through our MAC environment, our multiple award contract environment that's already preset with our industry partners. So we also have a smaller ecosystem within the Warfare Center to be able to do aircraft modification and UAS work rapidly. Next slide. I want to talk about how we do that in 3 ways. We do that first by, as we talked about before, the RPED team is really good at demonstration work. What a program office needs after a technology has been identified is to be able to shore from a demonstration environment more understanding of how they can actually fulfill or meet or even polish off their operational requirements documents or their capabilities to description documents. So a program office, before it becomes a program of record, has to have a signed CDD to be able to enter into the acquisition cycle. We can help out of AIRWorks to be able to take those next steps of performing more demonstrations, achieve more learning with that a program office, and at the same time start being able to do design work in relationship to that specific platform to help bring that technology over. And then once the technology is integrated into the program, we can also help that program office out by being a major industrial facility of being able to provide modifications that complement what their classic OEM is doing. Let's take a couple examples. First slide, next slide. On the demonstration side, next slide. One of the demonstrations that we're doing right now today is on counter mine warfare technology. ONR, the Office of Naval Research, 3 years ago had done a future naval capability where they were looking at being able to put multi-spectral sensors combined with LiDAR to be able to do counter mine warfare. The program office, PMS 495, already had the mine warfare office, already had projects going that we're looking at both the littoral and the beach environment for counter mine detection. For them, bringing a new capability on was going to be challenging. So we partnered with PMS 495, with PMA 266, the Multi-Mission Tactical UAS office, as well as with ONR, and then also brought in our Aircraft Prototype System Division down at the Warfare Center. And what we did in a very short time is being able to work a podded integration of these new sensor capabilities onto the MQ-8C Fire Scout, which could also translate to other platforms like the M860, and in a very short time have gone through all the full certification that's required to bring these heavy pods onto the Fire Scout, have wrung out the capability as a first stage right here at the Warfare Center, operating out of Webster Field with the UX-24, or unmanned test squadron, and now this month are deploying down at Eglin Air Force Base to do a full demonstration and be able to deliver those results this summer just in time for PMS 495 to look at the other 2 candidates, now maturing this technology rapidly and giving that program manager a third option to be able to get this critical technology out there to support the threats that we may face overseas. Next slide. One back, please. There you go. In a very similar area, we are working with our naval special force operators to look at the art of the possible on bringing in a new class of UAS, unmanned air systems, into the Naval Special Warfare Fleet. They have had a requirement for a UAS with about a 25-pound payload to provide intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, on-call ISR capability. But the challenge that the fleets had today is that they didn't have a vertical takeoff and landing UAS capability that would really lower the amount of support equipment and the not having to have launch and recovery equipment on riverine vessels that have a really small footprint. So we were able, again, to partner with Impacts and go out and see what the market had. Obviously, vertical takeoff and landing UAS for industrial class UAVs is really advanced over the last few years. Tony showed that with the Blue Water UAS team. We also now have been able to, in a very short 18-month time window, went out, pulsed the industry, brought in a number of candidates that met the basic requirements, down selected from 13 down to 2. And then over this last 6 months have now entered into a prototyping other transaction authority environment that is now fielding the first vehicles that meet that operational requirement. All at the same time while we're advancing that capability as a program of record for our customer. So all of that would have normally taken about a 3 or a 4 year acquisition cycle, we've been able to cut that time in half, almost with under 18 months. And then next year, we're going to IOC the first capability in the first quarter of 2023. That is really, by leveraging that impacts, that OTA environment, and then being able to use preset contracts that we already have at the Warfare Center, able to speed capability out the door. Next slide. Next slide. In addition, I've talked to you about before what we did on the MH-60 with the gunner seat. 3 years ago, the Navy Aviation's number two top safety challenge was the gunners who man the gunner seat, obviously, in the MH-60 fleet on these long endurance missions were having problems with the seat having anthropomorphic challenges. So they were getting problems with the lower back pain, spinal injuries. And then also the Navy had increased its requirement for crash loads on its platform. So the program office, PMA 299, MH-60 program office, as well as PMA 202, the aircraft systems office, wanted to put a new gunner seat in to be able to solve the challenges for the seat itself. But at the same time, when they pulsed industry on the requirement for a 20G crash load seat in the back, the cost came back in pretty high. We knew as a warfare center, we had been studying this problem for quite some time in our human systems division. We knew that we had all the ingredients across the warfare center to do the work ourselves with a little bit of help from a partnership with industry. So literally in about an 18-month time frame, we went from a basic prototype that really got the backing from the fleet, helped form a gunner seat task force, worked with our human systems division, and did the detailed design, did the initial prototyping, as well as did the test articles and did the certification, all in-house within the Warfare Center, with a little bit of help of local small businesses like JF Taylor, Dakota Defense Systems, and then graduated to manufacturing by going out on our pre-awarded prototype and limited production MAC, and brought Keomac in from Salt Lake City, Utah, and did the entire fleet retrofit from IOC to FOC in 10 months, 562 seats, reset the entire fleet. And then the last example that I'll give you, next slide, one more, is just the type of work that we do on a daily basis. I've talked about before that AIRWorks is an AS 9100, ISO 9005 organization that specializes in aircraft modification work. On the CMV 22, PMA 275 just reached IOC last year on the CMV 22, and they're in full production. Bell Boeing is in a sprint to deliver all of the CODs, right, carrier onboard delivery systems, out to the fleet. Well, there's a number of post-production mods that PMA 275 is interested in and want to get that capability onto the fleet as these aircraft are starting to deliver. So what PMA 275 did is they said, hey, AIRWorks, Naval Air Warfare Center Aircraft Division, you've got a lot of capability. Can we start putting post-production mods on now while the OEM is delivering? And so we teamed up with them and again, our aircraft prototype systems division, and put on MIDS jitters Link 16, Iridium sat phones, as well as tactical view displays and an ICS complement onto that aircraft. Right now today, we're finishing up final development testing on that, and we'll start doing full installation work at the end of this year. As well as we also did organic software development to interface with the aircraft's operational flight program to be able to do all of that work in-house. And then now being able to team with industry on doing the full kitting, and then eventually being able to do the full field installation work by using our our prototyping and limited production MAC, as well as our full rate production MACs. Next slide. So let's take a step back one more. To summarize, as a warfare center, we have tremendous capability, bringing tremendous value to NAVAIR. We do that through both a partnership with our industrial capabilities at the Aircraft Prototype Systems Division at Pax River, as well as our manufacturing and rapid prototyping capability up at Lakehurst, and our rapid engineering and integration capability down at Webster Field, down at St. Inagos, as well as having a preset environment with over 25 industry partners to be able to rapidly turn product orders to do kitting and to do installation work and to do all of the detailed work that's required to get modifications onto aircraft. And the next slide, we have that set up in a way that we're able to speed capability to the fleet. So we have it structured so that it's not just a menu for a program office to walk in and ask, hey, can I use you as a contracting shop? What we do at the Warfare Center is we run the project with them. We partner with a PMA, and then depending on where they're at in the project life cycle, if we're doing early development and demonstration work, we team up with the impacts. Saw J-Lo here, impacts, as well as working other transaction authorities that are already preset in our environment with the Naval Aviation Systems Consortium, the NASC OTA office, being able to turn the 2371 Bravo authorities quickly to be able to do that in engagement with industry. And then as we're going into more detailed prototyping work and initial low rate work, we have our already existing POP MAC, Prototype and Limited Production MAC, with our Aircraft Prototype System Division, with the partners that are in the center. And then to do a full fleet retrofit, we have another pool of vendors that are at the ready to be able to help us do those full production kitting and full fleet installs across the board. Next slide. So for us, being a government LSI, a government lead system integrator, we're able to pull all this capability that the Warfare Center has to offer together for a program office, either partner or embed with that program office, and be able to now, for that program manager that I talked about before, now he's got an entire tool set of capability that he didn't necessarily think that or know that he had before to be able to deliver that product to the fleet. So for us, last slide, for us, our North Star is very clear. We have been charged by Vice Admiral Chevy, the commander of NAVAIR, to deliver capability to the fleet with urgency and at cost. We are a warfare center. Naval Aviation Warfare Center Aircraft Division. We are a warfare center first and foremost. We have a sense of urgency to deliver products, and we want to do that with you in industry by finding out what the state of the market has, being able to use the tool sets to be able to close gaps quickly with the state of the market, and then know where to go put our investments for tomorrow so we can have that asymmetric advantage over that threat out in the field by investing in the right technologies to get us there in 5 to 10 years from now. We are here to make sure that naval aviation and Marine Corps aviation stays relevant, and strong for the future. We do that through partnerships, we do that through our organic talent, and we do that with communities like you that care about naval aviation and want to get capability in the warfighter's hands. Again, it's been a pleasure to talk to all of you today, and I'll open the floor for questions.
Hi. Wow, that's loud. Hi, Sam Legrone, USNI News. Can you talk a little bit more about how the development of something like the logistics UAV goes from an experimentation from y'all's shop into a viable warfighting tool? Right. And, is there any additional progress on that? Because I think there were some pretty splashy demonstrations like last year, and I'd like to hear more on where that's going. Thank you.
Absolutely. In fact, afterwards, if you wanted to do a follow-up, Tony Smith is standing right there. That gentleman standing right there. He's the one that run the Blue Water UAS program as the RPED director. But it's a great question, right? So one of the great things that we are able to do is really do a very in-depth tech market scan on where industry stands. As you know, in many instances, especially in the UAV market, industry has really made a substantial investment over the last 5 years, probably outpacing DoD in many areas. So by us being able to do work through like impacts to really understand what the state of the market is, that has helped us bring those viable technologies that meet that need that PMA 263 has. PMA 263 is the small tactical UAS office that is still developing and finalizing their operational requirement document or their capability description document. We're able to help them finalize that piece, get the acquisition framework built, and then now be able to set that program record in the out years. If they had to do all of that themselves, they would have had a really hard time being able to set up their own environment to really be able to pulse the market. And at the same time, while they were trying to run the overall acquisition process, they would have had all the challenges now of being able to start from scratch with just a requirements document and then go out and try to pulse industry in a competitive way. We shrink that entire timeline by bringing all of that together through our impacts in our OTA processes. Does that help? Uh-huh.
Jerry, we do have a question from our virtual audience.
Okay.
We had someone write in and say, how can I get more information on the PIA with Georgia Tech?
Outstanding question. So our partner intermediate agreement is called Impacts. It's with Georgia Tech Research Institute. If you, let's see, right, we will be able to point them to Mr. Lopez, who's sitting here with us today, that is our representative on Impacts. And they have a website, as well as if you went to that website that we had on our RPED, I think you can also get to Impacts there as well. But we'll hook them up.
Hey, Jerry. Wondering, you mentioned the virtualization you're doing and also talked about the CMV22 comms upgrade. Sorry, you talked about virtualization and the CMV22 comms upgrade. I'm wondering, how are you verifying rapidly that that the comms are working, they're not interfering with other systems on the aircraft, and everything's working and all the when things are banking around? How are you doing that? Are you using virtualization to assist?
Yep, so that's a great question. So right here at the Warfare Center down at Pax River, we teamed up with VX20 and started from the beginning to do really a two-phase process. First of all, one of our test birds down there is an MV22. The first time that we went through a really rapid Scrum process to do the integration of the software as well as our basic components, we worked right there with VX20 to get the first capability out within about a six month time frame while we're waiting for the first CMV 22s to be available. And then as well within the center down there, we have facilities like the SAIL, that's the cell lab that's able to actually use a shipboard environment being replicated to pulse our systems and see if we have any interferences or any carryover effects across bands. We went against the SAIL. We did a lot of our development in the SAIL, as well as working with within the relative environments that we have hosted down at the test center. Most of that was done just with the capabilities that we already have in place down at Pax River. And then for Link 16 and for SATCOM, we also built our own in-house lab. Did that very quickly. So so as part of our Scrum process, we made sure we got the user interfaces right. We also did limited testing in that environment. And then now that we've gone into DT on the aircraft itself against full-up systems, we've had great success. In fact, we're right on track this summer to finish off. So the nice thing is we did all of that being right there at the Warfare Center. Right? Does that answer? Okay. Yes, sir.
Otto Kreischer with Sea Power Magazine. a lot of what you do is based on rapid prototyping. Okay, Congress in the past on the acquisition reforms advocates prototyping, but they also then get nitpicking about how the money is going and that sort of thing. You guys appear to have a great deal of freedom to push these programs forward without a whole lot of backbiting from Congress or others. Is that often involved in legislation, or how do you do that?
So that's a great question. So first of all, there's two parts to that. First of all, our Warfare Center has a limited amount of capability on an annual basis to be able to do technology exploration itself. So the RPED environment that we talked about, our Antex events, we're able to actually make investments as a Warfare Center across those technology areas that align with the roadmap that the CNO has for us, the Chief of Naval Operations has for us, and able to get that work going within the technology exploration space. And then what we're able to do now with the 2371 authorities, with the other transaction authorities, we're able to now partner up with that program office with the early funding that they have for their mission areas and the application of that funding on those mission areas for that specific platform, and start to transition a lot faster than what we were classically able to do when you use the standard acquisition cycle. And what I mean by that, if I'm a program manager and I have a requirement and having to work the standard process for the POM, I'm probably about 2 years out from being able to release a document to industry. If during that 2-year time frame, if I'm actually able to leverage the OTA environment to bring something out of industry that shows promise, may not be 100% with that with that requirement. That gives me, one, the ability to judge whether or not I've put too much into that requirement or if I need to tailor that requirement. And then second, all that learning allows me to write a better statement of work and a better spec to when I go out to industry for the full FAR part contracting. So it allows me to do a lot of learning in that time frame while I'm putting my overall program together. Does that make sense? And Congress, I think, is very much on board with that process, because it makes us a better informed customer as well as a better partner with industry. Does that make sense?
We actually have another virtual question.
Okay.
I'm really interested in this new effort of LSI. Is this a new program?
Oh, no. So LSI is Lead System Integration. LSI has been around since the start of acquisition, right? So what LSI means is that Lead System Integration is, if you're a major OEM in the United States today, and the government comes in and asks you to either go build an airplane or put a modification on an airplane, what we call LSI is doing that entire spectrum of work from understanding the requirements, doing the detailed design, to doing the initial build of that product, to certifying that product, or working all the testing that's required to doing the fielding. We classically use the term lead system integrator with our major OEMs in the market. What we've done really hard in the last decade, certainly within the Warfare Center, is build an organic capability, the ability to do LSI in-house, to act like an OEM or be an alternative to an OEM or a partner with the OEM, and have the talent not just to oversee contracts, but to actually be able to do the work in-house. And now that we have our industrial capability within the Warfare Center, that means that we can even go all the way through prototype builds and initial production capability, all within the Warfare Center. So LSI here means that we're doing that at work, not necessarily contracting that out. But at the same time, when we do contract it out, it does make us a much better partner, because we have a much fuller understanding of the challenge and of the weapon system that we're modifying. Does that make sense?
All right. I believe that's all the time we have for today. Thank you, Jerry, and thank you all for attending.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. It's an honor.